Y'all, the feds just dropped more information on Diddy's crimes, and this particular dump allegedly involves information on Diddy's adopted daughter, Ava Baloney. So the feds finally spilled the tea on Ava and what really happened when she disappeared from the scene. Now remember back in 2020 when Diddy was all over the place announcing Ava's adoption? Then out of nowhere she just vanished like she was never there. Well, it turns out that there's a whole lot more to the story, and it looks like Diddy might have been mixed up in some very horrible business with Ava. But get this, people are saying that the raid by Homeland Security might have had a lot to do with Ava. A big chunk of Diddy's federal indictment allegedly centers around her. And y'all won't believe the wild claims about what Diddy supposedly did, because this will shock you to your core. Alright y'all, hold on to your seats, because this Diddy drama is just spiraling into the most horrible stuff in history. We've all seen the accusations piling up with Homeland Security raiding his properties over those trafficking allegations, and the feds eventually moved in and got an indictment against him. But here's the plot twist. What happened to Diddy's adopted white daughter? Yeah, you probably forgot all about her. A couple of years ago, back in 2020, when all the C stuff was going down, right? Diddy made a big announcement about adopting her, and then, just like that, she vanished from the public eye. It's almost like she never existed in the first place. So while everyone was busy talking about his latest scandals, nobody's asking the real question, where is Ava? And let me tell you, things are only getting more suspicious, but it looks like the feds just cracked the case. Back then, we didn't think too much about it because it was a time when people were mostly just online, and we didn't have all the info that we do now about Diddy. Sure, there were whispers here and there, and mostly about him being on the DL, but that's his personal life. There's nothing illegal about wanting men. No, at the time, it just seemed like he was having consensual relations with younger men, not boys, so no one really batted an eye. But y'all, with what we know about him now, y'all, it's enough to make your skin crawl. Every new lawsuit coming out just shows an even darker side of Diddy. Like Cassie's lawsuit, it painted Diddy as a monster who mistreated her in every single way possible. Then you have Little Rod, who not only alleged that Diddy SA'd him, but also claimed he tried to pimp him out to other industry men. But the real mess started when Homeland Security raided his homes in LA and Miami over suspicions. That's when it became very clear that we were dealing with something serious. Up until that point, all the lawsuits were civil, no criminal charges in sight. But when the feds step in and do a full-on raid, then you know they've got some major dirt.
Diddy supposedly is on a starvation protest that he's not eating anything, supposedly, number one. Number two, this is crazy. He is in a cell with Sam Bankman-Fried. If you don't know who that is SBF. He was formerly one of the richest people in the world. He ran FTX. It's all done now. It's a big crypto guy, a brokerage. He's going to jail for a long, long time. He basically was stealing people's money and saying that he was going to have this whole Ponzi scheme. These two motherfuckers are together in the same cell. I guess.
Why haven't anybody came out defending Diddy? All these celebrity friends he have and nobody came out.
They brand. It's all about the money. They saw what he did to Cassie. With the kicking, the punching. They saw what they did to Cassie. They know that nobody in America liked that. So now, these people are represented by a brand. Whether it's something about the music, clothing, movies. They're not going to come out and speak on nothing that has anything to do with them. And they praying that they not on the tape.
Unfortunately, what I have to say in revealing what I witnessed in that time period was a very young Puffy, Sean Puffy Combs, that had really been busting his chops to appeal to Andre Harrell.
We haven't heard from Angie Stone in a while, but we forget that she was around during the start of Uptown Records. Now, she worked at MCA, but she had a close relationship with everybody at Uptown Records, from Albie Shore, Faith Evans, Andre Harrell, who was ahead of Uptown Records at the time. But she also talks about Mary J. Blige and how she tried to help her out, and as well as Diddy. The only time that Diddy ever spoke to Angie Stone was after the 1991 stampede at the City College. So let's go ahead and get into the video right now.
you know, it seems like the topic at hand is P. Diddy. I'll take you all the way back to the early 2000s when P. Diddy had just become an intern at Uptown Records, which was housed in MCA Music, which was where I just happened to have a publishing deal as an MCA songwriter. Woo! Can we get into it, guys? Unfortunately, what I have to say in revealing what I witnessed in that time period was a very young Sean Puffy Combs that had really been busting his chops to appeal to Andre Harrell as the intern of life. He was getting it in. I mean, that was when Albie Shore was there. That was when Jodeci was there. That was when Mantronic was hot. They were up against, you know, that kind of lineage. Mary J. Blige had just been brought to the scene. I just happened to be a fly on the wall at the time. Unlike so many other people that say they were there, I actually was on the ground floor of the groundbreaking P. Diddy as an intern, Mary J. Blige as a new artist, Total, and so many others that were coming through to the Uptown camp. I had never seen a hustle so intense as P. Diddy. He would run through MCA Records like he owned the place. I mean, he would dot. I'm like, who is that skinny little kid? He looks very much like his son looks now. I mean, it's uncanny, but it's almost identical. But he was running through that building like, I am the man, and if I'm not that man yet, I will be soon enough. Lo and behold, there was a writing room. I was an MCA songwriter at the time. I had just penned the song Seems You Much Too Busy by the group Vertical Hole. I know y'all remember that song. If you don't, go to YouTube, type in Vertical Hole and the song Seems You Much Too Busy. You will see a 3-member group there singing, and I'm in the dark. That was what they did because I was overweight and they didn't want anybody to know how overweight I was, so they shadowed me in the dark, so all you saw was my face. That was an attempt to cover me so that it wouldn't hurt the sales of the record. At the time, it was very disheartening because I didn't think the way it had anything to do with my voice. You had 2 Tons of Fun. You had all these other big women that was out there putting it down, from CNC Music Factory and, you know, so many other people who wasn't caught up with that. But I just happened to be at a company where they were anal about how big you were. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't help it. The medication that I was taking at the time, which was prednisone, rendered me to be overweight. It was no way around it. Couldn't get lipo. I couldn't be cut, period, because you would bleed out. So that was something I had to skate across. Anyway, Puffy just happened to be an intern extraordinaire. And I can remember a gentleman by the name of Kurt Woodley who was working for Andre Harrell at Uptown. And I come out of the booth from the writing room, which is a space that we all shared. Uptown, the studio, the publishing office, Tita Gray or James Jackson's office was right there on the shoulder of the corner, the east side of the building. And when I came out, Mary J. Blige's then manager let me know. He says, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And he said, my name is Kurt Woodley. I said, yeah. He said, we found an artist that she kind of sounds like you. She reminds us of you, but she's not, you know, polished. And we really think that if you can work with her for a little while, you know, she has a possibility. I mean, she's not nowhere near ready right now, but I didn't know what he was talking about until he finished that sentence. And he said, we found her at the mall. She was out there doing karaoke. She was doing Anita Baker's music on a karaoke, and they discovered her. It just happened to be Mary J. Blige. And so they said, can you think you can work with her? And me, I could work with anybody at the time. I was what you call a goat back then. I was hungry. I was passionate about music. So I thought I could fix everything. And so I said, yeah, I'll work with her. So they told her, okay, you're going to work with Angie Stone. You're going to work with her. And so I took her to my house. At this particular time, I was living in Little Ferry, New Jersey. And I took her to my house. My then partner, Dave Bright, from the group Vertical Hole, was actually, all he was concerned about was trying to become the next big producer. He was infatuated with Teddy Riley. So everything was, how you like this, how you like this. Well, for me, it was cool because at that time, Prince, that's right, the Prince, had given me all of his equipment. I had a Juno 106 that I prided. That was my pride and joy because Prince had used that to cut Jill Jones's material, his material. And he had moved out of his penthouse in New York. And he was really took a liking to me. He says, Angie, do you want this equipment and this furniture? Because he couldn't take it with him. And I said, yeah. I mean, he had zebra rugs, all purple leather furniture. It was awesome. And at the time, I couldn't fit it all in my house. So I said, I'm still working a 9 to 5. It's been rough. I said, but I'll find a storage place and put it into a storage place. I kept the keyboards and stuff in my house. The furniture and all that stuff went into a storage house near the west side. Lo and behold, I fell behind on the bill. This is very sickening because it should never have happened. And I went one day to settle my bill, and the building had sold all my furniture that Prince had given me. So somewhere, somehow, someone is sitting with all of Prince's stuff in their space, and they don't have a clue that they have Prince's stuff. The Juno 106, which was the keyboard I started recording on, Dave Bright and I broke up, and he kept it, kind of like hold it over my head. But enough of that story. Let me get back to the Mary J. Blige. So, Mary J. Blige comes to my house in New Jersey, in Little Ferry, New Jersey. And I had written this song called I Ain't Taking No Shorts. I wrote this song because they at Uptown, Kurt Woodley, Puffy, all of the powers that be was saying she ain't ready. She got to get her look together. We don't like the way she looks. And I thought she was very cool. She was average looking young teenager that, obviously had to grow into womanhood, but she wasn't a bad looking girl at all. And you can clearly see that, given her beautiful features, that she was an attractive girl. But they looked at her as hood girl. And so I was angry for her. And I took the position, okay, I'm going to write some words that you can really sink your teeth into. And the song was, I ain't taking no shorts. No, not this time. And the first line of that song was, baby, don't you know what time it is? Time for me to begin.
Diddy just went on the Talk to a podcast.
Diddy, you're by far the biggest guest we've had on Talk To Us so far. So I just want to say thank you so much for being on the #1 podcast in the world.
I appreciate it, Haley. I fuck with you. We go way back type shit. And,
Wait. What do you mean by way back?
Oh, is that what we're doing right now? Really? So you're going to act like you weren't at my freak offs? Don't be silly.
Hey, what? I literally was there for like 5 minutes and left as soon as I saw baby oil come out. And mind you, it weren't just one bottle. It were like 1,000 of them things there.
Okay. Anything wrong with that?
Well, I mean, 1,000 is a bit much, don't you think?
Now you tripping. A brother like me needs to stay oiled up at all times,
Like moisturized?
You're moisturized. That's what I meant. Now, don't be asking me weird questions now, because I've got tapes of you, right?
And moving on. All right, next question is, if you ever got hot to it, how did it feel?
Of course, I've given hot to it many times. Come on now, enough of these dumbass questions.
Diddy, listen, I literally asked you if you ever got hot to it. Like, got hot to it.
Oh, shit.
Not give hot to it.
Not bad. Yeah, cut that part out.
Yeah, of course, don't worry about it. You want to answer the question again? Or should we move on?
Yeah, move on.
All right, okay, next question. What did you do in the 48 hours you spent with a young Justin Bieber?
Who should Hawk Tua interview next?
Shoulder to shoulder with Meek Mill.
I'm at a point in my life like we all grew up in the streets.
Meek Mill has set the internet on fire after confirming the gay allegations involving him and Diddy. But the twist He's claiming it wasn't by choice and is reportedly filing a lawsuit against Diddy for abuse. This revelation has fans and the industry buzzing, with Meek stepping out to clarify that he was manipulated and pressured into situations he never consented to. According to Meek, these weren't just rumors.
Y'all, Diddy is not eating in prison and he's sharing the same housing unit as Sam Bankman-Fried. Diddy is not eating while he's at the MDC and he's sharing the same housing unit as Sam Bankman-Fried. Former inmate Larry Levine says that someone close to the Diddy investigation is saying that Diddy is paranoid and he's scared. Diddy's so scared because he has so much information on people that he's afraid that somebody's gonna poison his food. In Diddy's mind, someone can easily pay someone to poison his food. Levine said that the food comes in cold and it's bland. Well, Diddy is not at a 5-star. Diddy is often in contact with his former chief of staff, Christina Quorum. She said that there's mold coming in a lot of the food and that the food is coming to him cold and they get served last since it's not a regular housing unit. They feed the shoe last. Levine said Diddy has been in touch with his kids, a dietitian, a lawyer, a minister during his first week of pre-trial detention. There are 1,218 people at the MDC, which is located in the Eastern New York Judicial District, according to the Bureau of Prisons. The MDC is also plagued with chronic understaffing, constant lockdown, outbreaks of violence, delayed access to medical care, and a rash of unalivings and death. Several courts in the district have recognized that the conditions at the Metropolitan Detention Center are not fit for pre-trial detention. Judges and advocates have called out the Bureau of Prisons for dangerous and barbaric conditions at the MDC, and they are pressing them to make improvements. Combs is not alone. He's sharing a space with Sam Bankman-Fried. Bankman was the CEO of FTX, and he was co-founder of Alameda Research. Bankman was charged with 2 counts of wire fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit securities fraud, conspiracy to commit commodities fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. So Bankman got 25 years in prison. Sources describe the unit as a barrack-style area currently housing 18 to 20 inmates. These inmates range from high-profile defendants like Diddy to cooperators, inmates who may require special protection. The area is said to be separate from Gen Pop, but it's a common shared living space. A lot of these correctional facilities are known for their inhumane conditions and because they're severely understaffed, and their access to medical care is completely trash. But what do you think? Do you think that Diddy should be allowed to go home while he awaits trial? Let me know what y'all think.
Y'all pulled up with me, I would've seen y'all niggas outside.
When we say such things, developments are certainly foreseeable, but I cannot predict them sitting here today. A source familiar with the federal investigation told CNN that several witnesses who worked for Combs have been meeting with prosecutors. One male S-worker is even expected to testify in front of the grand jury soon. According to the source, these witnesses have allegations that go beyond what was detailed in this week's indictment. Prosecutors have already interviewed more than 50 victims and witnesses in the case. To get a clearer picture of what might be ahead for Combs and his inner circle, CNN spoke to several legal experts. The consensus? A plea deal is unlikely for the music mogul, especially since these accusations could continue to expand. I will be very curious, especially since he's being held without bail, if that gives other survivors the courage to come forward, said Shay Rhodes, director of the Villanova Law Institute to address commercial S-exploitation. For those allegedly involved in Combs' criminal enterprise, legal experts pointed out the tough decisions prosecutors will face, like whether to charge them or use their testimonies against him. The prosecution is going to have to deal with witnesses with a rough past or who are admitting to engaging in criminal activity, said trial attorney Misty Maris. You've got a lot of people with dirty hands in a racketeering case. Combs' attorney Mark Agnifilo has said he plans to appeal the ruling again. While many federal cases end in plea deals, Agnifilo doesn't think that's likely here and says they're preparing for trial. I believe he's innocent of the charges and he is going to go to trial, and I believe he's going to win, Agnifilo told CNN. Maris agreed that a plea deal seems unlikely, pointing out that the ST charge alone carries a 15-year mandatory minimum sentence. I think what the defense is really saying is, okay, we're going to take it to trial because any plea deal would be unlikely to be so favorable, she explained. We're talking about charges that carry a minimum of 15 years. The idea that a plea deal is going to offer a light sentence is just not in the cards for this case. And there's still the chance that Combs could face more accusations. Prosecutors have made it clear that their investigation is active and ongoing, and they've issued a public call for any potential victims to come forward.
They will be speaking to more people. We found out that these two individuals, and we have actually spoken to one of them, they are both.
However, coming forward might be difficult for victims in this case, especially given the alleged history of violence against those who tried to speak out in the past. It's shame and fear of whether or not you're going to be believed, Rhodes said. Also, if these allegations about how he had really engaged his entire organization in covering up what was going on, who is not behind bars that can carry out additional intimidation tactics or instill more fear in survivors who do want to come forward. Despite that, CNN senior legal analyst Eli Honig doesn't think we'll see more charges against Combs, mainly because the racketeering conspiracy charge already covers a wide range of alleged criminal activities, from ST and forced labor to K-napping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. The federal indictment against Sean Diddy Combs paints a picture of a massive conspiracy involving his staff, assistants, supervisors, and associates, accusing them of racketeering from 2008 to the present. According to the indictment, the so-called Combs enterprise wasn't just Combs himself. It included his business entities like Bad Boy Entertainment, as well as employees and associates, everyone from security staff and household workers to personal assistants and top supervisors. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise engaged in, and attempted to engage in, among other activities, ST, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of P-prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in P-prostitution, narcotics offenses, K-napping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice, the indictment claims. But here's the thing. Despite these serious allegations, Combs is the only one facing charges. So why is that? Legal experts suggest that the lack of charges against others in his circle likely means some of them are cooperating with the prosecution. CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson explained, "You have other people who you could say were his enablers, who are not being looked at by the government, who are helping the government prove their case. Prosecutors could offer these alleged co-conspirators immunity or non-prosecution agreements to get their testimonies against Combs," according to trial attorney Misty Maris. The reason prosecutors would do that is because the target in this case is Diddy, Maris said, to build a strong case against him. Their information and testimony are crucial. It's also important to remember that the lines between victim, witness, and offender can sometimes blur in cases like this. Shay Rhodes pointed out that this victim-offender overlap is especially common in cases involving S-violence and T, and it's possible that some of Combs' alleged co-conspirators were also victims themselves. The indictment hints at that, stating that one of the purposes of the criminal enterprise was securing absolute loyalty from members of the Combs enterprise, including through acts of violence and threat.